Yo, 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 what up, world? We are back again. That's right, with another episode. This is the Class in Session podcast. That's right, presented by Y.B.Normal. I am your host, Logan Taylor, my co host, my brother, my partner in crime, Mr. Dontay Hampton. And Dontay, you mind introducing our special guest?
Yes. We have a very special guest with us today, you guys. She's from Yonkers, New York. So I'm assuming she's a big Jets, Yankees.
Yankees.
Okay, Yankees fan. But by the way, right now she's currently teaching in the Victor Valley district, and it's Dr. Hassos.
Hasso, yeah, you got it.
Hassos, yes. She's currently an English teacher and she has her master's and she has several degrees. Can you just give our audience a little bit more about yourself and just let the audience know how you got into education?
Yeah. So I got a bachelor's degree in English, and I wasn't sure what direction I was going to go. Was it law school, teaching, or whatnot? I decided teaching. Got my credential, and started teaching high school with Victor Valley Union High School District. And then I got a master's in special education from Cal Poly Pomona. That's where I got my bachelor's. And then I got my content literacy degree master's from Michigan State. And I got an educational leadership master's from Cal State Northridge. And then I did a PhD in educational leadership from Concordia University in Chicago. They were all online. The master's and the PhD were virtual, but they were excellent programs. And then I just started to become more and more curious. I work with Adelanto High School, where we have very culturally diverse group of students. Mostly Latino and African American, and just being in the classroom, I just became more and more curious about like what the issues were and how to resolve those. Using good strategies that I explored. Just a little bit more about me. So I do have college teaching experience as well. My research is English learners and different other cultures as well. I earned awards. I earned a book award from Cal Poly Pomona, where I taught for a little while. But that's basically it. And now I just continue to do my research and publish and just try to figure out solutions to problems in the classroom that I encounter, because sometimes PDs are not as effective as people say they should be.
So just to let the people know, Dr. Hasso, you a big dog around here.
I'm a big dog where?
I said you a big dog around here. Let them know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think of myself that way, but I'm a little more humble in that. But yeah, I think there are things that, definitely like I do in my classroom that work, and it could be something as simple as just building a rapport with students, building a connection with them. I mean, that is the first barrier, with dealing with students. And then you have the other barriers, the learning barriers, that I try to, help them with. And sometimes it's just, giving them different options. This is one avenue. This is a different avenue you can take to get this done. And a light does, spark in them. I have one student that was that this past semester was failing my class, and I kept kind of poking and prodding. I'm like, okay, he knows that I'm here for him, and he finally started to get his work in, and he went up from an F to a B plus. And I tell them, I ask them, what are their expectations from me? from at the beginning of the semester, throughout the semester. I want to know what they want out of me. And I think that helps a lot. Because then you're not, just teaching them the curriculum. You're actually focusing the curriculum on what they want. And they end up succeeding and thriving in that way. With like multilingual learners, which we have all over the world, all over the country, it's simple as, translating documents, translating curriculum so that they can, read the curriculum in their home language, and then allowing them to submit work in their home language. And also just making sure that you're giving them lessons and work that is based off of their interests. Sometimes that's not as easy as, I know how it is with teaching. You have a curriculum that's district certified, and you have to do it. But there are ways you can deliver the curriculum where it's geared around their interests, their level of knowledge, their interests, and what they already know, right? Because we don't want to teach them things that they already know, which is, where a lot of issues come out.
Right. Absolutely. I love that. But yeah, like I said, you've accomplished a lot, and I think that that's amazing with everything that you have accomplished. So I'm like, yo, let the people talk your stuff, right? Because you the big dog, you got the PhD, you the doctor, right? Like when they come to you, they like, hey, Dr. Hasso, and that means a lot, right? And so I just want to say, that's amazing and that's phenomenal, and I really appreciate the work that you're doing in California, right? And being able to impact those scholars of that nature and stuff. Dontay, come on, hop in, man. Let's get into these questions.
All right. So I'm just curious, how did you even come about as far as did you always know you wanted to be an English teacher or
I did.
or in that aspect?
Yes, I did. In my high school, and I came from a pretty, a high-end high school, not private, but public, but close to being private. I mean, and I just remember always my English class, all the students were quiet. I'm like, this is easy. The students are quiet. They're doing their work. This is easy. I can do this. And so that's why I wanted to do it. And then I started looking for jobs and learned that this is not what I came from is not the real world. Not like in rural areas, like Adelanto High School is a very, culturally diverse, rural, there's a lot of, the literacy levels are not as high as like where I came from. And so it was a culture shock. And then I knew that I was in it, and I was in the kids, it really appreciated like the things that I was doing to help them and support them. And that felt good. And so I'm like, this is it. This is where I want to be. It could have been something as simple as, they needed paper, they needed pencils. They needed things that weren't given to them, and that's why they were failing. And so I was doing that. And that's so, but then there were other things like learning issues and that I was about. And then I just started, doing a lot of research and publishing and getting myself out there and helping other people. I present at conferences all over the country. So I'm hopefully doing another one in Ohio, but just helping people from teaching at a continuation high school to regular high school, and in many cases it's that rapport, just sort of connecting with the student, and at least even if they have learning issues, they're willing to try. They're willing to give you that extra effort to do well. And then just giving them options, giving them several options, reading options, and then just, basically giving them time to be themselves in the classroom and try not to be so, standoffish with them. But that's in a nutshell what it's all about. So I'm doing a I'm doing another book that's in press with Roman and Littlefield. Shout out to Roman and Littlefield. But they are a great publishing company. But it's about movement, because kids like to move, and so like how to use movement in the classroom so that they're not always sitting and moving around while they're learning. Whether it's vocabulary, putting vocabulary words all over the walls and letting them just walk around and look at the words, look at pictures associated with the words, or having them find pictures, online, with their phones that are associated with the words because they love their phones, right? That's just something that we have to deal with on a constant basis. So.
Awesome. I really like what you said about that as far as entering the real world. Because myself, I went to a diverse school as well. They called it a Paideia school at the time, which is more so focused on seminars and expressing yourself through maybe it be a painting, maybe it be a topic, and expressing yourself, how did it make you feel, what did you think about it, compared to somebody who's not from where you come from. So I think that's unique. But I will say, with the change of you going from New York to California, what you think was one of your biggest struggles as a teacher in that aspect, or just being a fairly new teacher? What are some of the struggles that people might not know about someone who's an English teacher?
I think, again, the phones, the students being on the phone, more engaged with their phone than with the teacher and the work. So, I mean, in New York, where I came from, they have a very good public school system. So I came from an excellent school system. And then we came to California, which is sort of, I call it like the sleepy state. Like they're not very, they try to keep up, but there's not a lot of keeping up with current strategies and so forth. So I felt a little lost coming here. I just remember always being engaged when I was in school at Yonkers in elementary school. As a teacher, I think that the biggest issue right now is literacy. Students not able to read, at very high levels. There's a lot of research out there that, basically the whole country, that students are not able to read beyond 4th, 5th, 6th grade. And so just trying to get them beyond that, and with, finding material for them that is of interest to them. I have a lot of African-American students. When I give them lessons on poetry that, have to do with Langston Hughes or anything related to their culture, they eat it, they feed into it. But if I give them stuff that's, not relatable, then they won't, they can probably do it maybe, but they won't be as interested. So, there are always, I think also, the believing in them, the believing in them and the motivating them is the key. I'm a very motivational person. I've had students in my past say, you should be a motivational speaker. And it is difficult sometimes to bring that out when I'm in the classroom. But when I'm home and I'm working online, because they work with Google Classroom, I can post things and I do things. I can give them videos that sort of help them remember, this is your path, this is where you're going. And there is we have goals for you. I have a goal for you. I want you to succeed. I want you to go to college. I want you to have options. I tell them I'm not that type of person where, I think that they're pigeonholed. Sometimes people like to pigeonhole, not, just generally speaking. And I tell them, I'm not that. If I see a talent in you, I will bring that out of you, whether it's makeup or something. And, I'll try to encourage them. You can go to school, 4-year college and do something with that, work for Hollywood, work for anything you're interested in. If you're interested in is cars, you can be an engineer. I taught Cal Poly Pomona in their engineering department. I'm not an engineer, but I taught in their technical writing department, or in that class. So I was teaching engineers how to write, how to present, information, because that's what they have to do most of the time. So, I tell the kids that like cars and auto, which is a huge thing in school, they love it. I tell them, if you have this passion, okay, be a mechanic. That's great. We need mechanics, good mechanics. But I also kind of put in, we need people that, also know how to read and write. To be a good mechanic, you need those skills. And then I always push them. I'm like, well, if you want to make this a real thing, you can go to be an engineer, build cars, make lots of money. So I take all of that, their whatevers that they're sort of interested in, phones, technology, TikTok, whatever. If this is your passion, then do something with it. Don't just do a TikTok video with it. Go out there, be a professional about it, and make a lot of money and have a family, have a home, be something different than what people pigeonhole you to be. So,
Come on, Logan, get on in here.
I like everything you're saying, Dr. Hasso. I like everything you were saying. Um, so I heard you talk about going from New York City to California, and you said that the vast differences, right, in regards to the education system. And I just think that, I think that that's a challenge, not just going from, one state to the other, but I just think that, education in itself is a challenge, right? Just trying to innovate and help scholars, progress forward and different things like that. Because if it's one thing that I've known with research, right, has shown is that education hasn't evolved. Everything else has evolved. Everything has innovated in different things like that, right? I want us to talk about what are some ways at your school, at your district, that you all are doing some innovative things to help advance the scholars.
we are right now, like our district is, you know, giving students rewards, a lot of rewards to help them stay motivated. We give them, carnivals and ice cream, socials and whatnot if they get good grades, if they do well in class. I reward my students. We have what's called bar, where the kids, if they're in bar, which is a sort of a program for kids that are struggling, maybe they're having, emotional, mental, issues. If these are a group of teachers and leaders that, sort of work with these kids. And then they have parties for them if they're making progress. Um, I think we our district has a challenge because we have kids from whatever different types of places, different homes, and they're dealing with a lot of that stuff. They're dealing with a lot of home stuff that we may not be aware of. But we do try to, the mental health stuff. We have school psychologists there. We have people, working with kids with all of these different issues. And I think that helps a lot with, helping students make progress academically. We have a curriculum that is very, very high, that the district agreed on. It's it's a very academic curriculum, meaning that the vocabulary in there is very high. But I think it's good because it's exposing these kids to everything, that is helpful in terms of the academic success. And then there's a lot of like hands-on stuff that we do with kids. One of the students was telling me their biology teacher helped them make soap, chemistry. And then I have them, write essays and, make sure that they're everything, my standards are very high and they know that. That they have to have academic vocabulary in there. They have to have SAT words in there. They have to prepare an essay that is going to look good for a community college or a 4-year university. And they really do, as much as we think kids don't want to do these things or they're not interested, they do want to learn how to write better, learn how to have a bigger vocabulary. when I ask them at the end and at the beginning, like all along my semester, what do you want? What am I doing right for you? What am I doing wrong for you? I want feedback for me. That way I can, focus on the good things and sort of work on the things I need to stop doing. But they want to sort of be better, be smarter, do better, and so forth. And I think our curriculum helps with that. So.
Absolutely. I love that. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. What would be, let's see, what would be or what has been, yeah, let's do it that way because I want to do past tense. What has been your biggest struggle with your journey in education and being an English teacher and different things like that? What has been your biggest struggle that you've been through? And of course, we know you've overcame it because you got the PhD. So, but what has been your biggest struggle for somebody that's starting out with wanting to be an English teacher or do ELA or different things like that?
I think understanding the backstories of students, because I grew up, I grew up with my parents were very, strict and whatnot, and education was number one in our household. And that was it. My parents saved all our report cards and, were proud of us and gave us rewards. And so, I was fed every day. I was loved every day. I think understanding that part of it with a lot of students has been the biggest challenge. But I've also learned over the years, that I sort of have to step back from my upbringing and put myself in their shoes. And that was the hardest part because I was raised in a very structured, strict sort of academic education, everything education. My dad supported education. My parents supported education. And, we were always loved and taken care of and clothed and all of that housed. But I was always approaching school like that. Like, why aren't you doing this? You should have everything, right? You should be able to, do this little, very easy activity. But then you learn over time, kids are, they come from, they're adopted, they have, or they come from homes and they have other things going on. And so I just have to step back and say, tell me, talk to me, just talk to me. What do you want? What's on your mind? And I'll be there for you. I'll step in for you. I'll help you. I tell them I got your back, but you got to try, you got to make that effort. And that's where I made a big shift, and they'll notice it. They'll say, oh, Dr. Hasso changed over the summer, or Dr. Hasso changed over the break. And, because I reflect a lot. I reflect every day, like, what is the issue? Sometimes I don't sleep, like, what can I do to help this kid, especially when she or he is a good kid. They're respectful, they're nice, but they're not getting their work in. What can I do? And sometimes they change within a week. But then sometimes it's a gradual thing, and it is something I am very passionate about. And then sometimes kids, they think you're too involved, and so that's when it's like, okay, well, I care, but they sometimes have issues with that too, and so I have to step away. So I've learned to be more empathetic, more understanding, more caring, and try to continue to push, because I tell them, this is it. You're going to be here for 4 years, or you can be a super senior and be here forever. It's up to you how you want to do this. I will give you the path, but you have to sort of give me a little bit, give me a little bit of, give me an opening here to help you. So you have to get through that barrier, and it's when they push back, I don't push. But if they accept my help, then yeah, I'm all in. And so, we're a transient district, so we get kids from all over the country coming in. We don't know what background, what experience they've had. We don't get their transcripts until sometimes months, until after they, knowing what grades they got in their classes, in their previous district. We don't get that information for months. And so we don't know what we, at least I don't know what we're starting with. Are
Right.
we starting with someone that had problems in the other school, emotional problems, whatever, academic problems? So we have to figure it out. I have to figure it out. So those are, some of the things that I go through every day. And, I really do care about, I take pride in, having a kid. I had a kid, he's African American, and he loves football. He's a nice kid. And, he wrote in his expectations paper, which was due a long time ago, but I accept late work. And he's like, yeah, I'm the first kid in my house to go to college, and I am going to go to college. He was failing my class. I don't know about the other classes, but he turned like a 2% or whatever to like an 85%. And I think it's just him. It was like, just, he knew I cared, poking and prodding. I didn't want to push him. But he turned it around, and learning, when you hear that you're the first person in your family to go to college and you want to make your parents proud, well, that he gave me a path to continue to live. And so I hope we have one more day, but I still have to get semester grades in, but I hope he gets a little bit more work in to get an A and show his parents, look, I want this and I'm doing this for you. It's all about them. It's not about you as a teacher. It's about them for me. So it was about me in the beginning, but then, you learn the hard way. You got to step away. It's about them. So.
I love it. Oh, I love it. 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 That is amazing. I love it. I think that that's important because as as educators, what I've learned in the education space is that building relationships with scholars has been one of the Achilles heels, right? In education, because like you said at the end of your statement, you said, "Hey, I made it about me in the beginning, but I learned the hard way." Right. And I think people that especially our educators, administrators, superintendent, whoever the case may be, right? Councilman, um, janitor, like whoever is working in the school building, I think it's imperative for them to understand that, hey, listen, it's not about you. It's about these babies, right? And so I want to go, and then I'll let Dante come in and ask his questions. But I heard you say something about being empathetic, caring, um, and just showing all around that you just care, right? What are some best tools and strategies for people that are struggling to build relationships with scholars, right? I want to stay right there for a second, and I just want you to touch on that. What are some strategies or best practices that you use to show the kids that you care, to show the kids, to even show the people in your school that you're empathetic, and you know what I'm saying, and just different things like that. Can you touch on that?
Yes. So like we have what's called openers. So they're supposed to, do warm ups, like for maybe it could be a vocabulary word, write a definition, Google a definition about this word. Sometimes I take a break from just any academics for openers. I just say, how's your day going? What did you do yesterday? And then they'll post it and, or talk to me about it, you know, or it could be a closer, like an exit ticket where I just ask them, what are you going to do for the summer? What are your plans? Are you going to be with your family? Is there anything, interesting you're going to do? And I think that that's helpful, just taking a break from academics, even to ask them questions. And then, it could be, and every day I always ask them, how are you doing? Are you having a good day? Because I have to know these things because I'm their teacher. I'm the adult. I'm the one in charge. If they are having a bad day, I leave them alone. If they don't want to work, fine, just leave them alone. Um, and they come around, and sometimes they just need to be with a friend to talk to, and I'll let them have that time with their friend, to go outside. I have to keep an eye on them, obviously. If they can do it in the classroom, that would be great, but sometimes they need privacy. So I'll say, okay, you can sit outside as long as I can keep an eye on you. You can talk to your friend, get off whatever's on your chest, and then they'll come back like 10 minutes later, a whole new person, and they're ready to work. Sometimes they just need someone to dump all their stuff to, and sometimes that's me. And that's when the openers and the exit tickets, warm up sort of activities do that for them, just a dumping place. And then sometimes like Fridays are usually like kind of freebie days, and I'll just kind of like, just be myself, be less, that less strict, and just, tell them a little bit about myself. And then I just want to know about them. What are they doing? What's on their minds? What, is there something bothering them? And you don't want to get too involved, because then some things are too private. But I'll give them options. I'll say, go to a counselor. Here's a counselor. If you don't want to talk to me, do you want to talk to a counselor? Do you want to talk to the school psychologist? And then they'll sort of give me whatever options. And then they'll say they usually like to talk to their friends. So I'll give them that privacy and that time. And it's just to be playful. I like to make jokes. I like to crack jokes. So I'll crack jokes with them, and they'll laugh. And I enjoy that. I enjoy making them laugh and giving their, I think yesterday with my sixth period, I was telling them, I said, this is, it's Chuck E. Cheese here. They cracked up, because we do give them a lot of carnivals and a lot of fun things to do. And they were just laughing at me calling the school, Chuck E. Cheese or whatever, but I was just being silly with them. They were laughing. I got rid of that barrier, that sort of, that whatever it is that they were having. I just think the most important thing is that you build that rapport. You show them the human side. You show them that you can make mistakes. I make mistakes all the time. Sometimes I'll post something and I'll edit it for them, like work or whatever, and I'll make an editing mistake and I'll fix it right there, just to show them, look, I can make mistakes, you can make mistakes, but we can fix these things. And also, my students can stress me out, like, to a point of yelling. And so there are days where I can be a little bit too high strung. And when I reflect on feeling like I was a little bit too much, I'll apologize. I'll apologize to them. I'll say, look, I apologize for being this, and that. And they'll be nice and they'll be kind, and they'll accept my apology. I think that you just need to show them that you're just like them in some ways, that we all have bad days. My dad passed away 4 years ago, and I was trying to hold it in, and I didn't take time off just yet at that time, because it just happened, and I found out in my class. And so I was bawling one day. I just bawling, and they all brought tissue to me. They all brought this to me. They all brought, this was one of my roughest classes that year. And it was a senior class, and they were very low academically, and yet, I was strict and this and that. And then I find out, and I was just in tears, and they brought everything to me. And that just shows that if you just kind of, there is a humanity, they're human, so you just sort of have to tap into that a little bit more in the curriculum, and in yourself. You have to show them you're interested in what they already know with the curriculum. And I do that in creative ways. And sometimes I just, look, you got to do this. But, I do take a break from all that and just say, we can have fun with this, or we can make this difficult. And I like to have fun. I like to have fun in the classroom with the academics. So
I love that. I think that's awesome. I love that. So listen, guys, y'all make sure y'all trying to build relationships with your scholars. Listen, Dr. Hasso has gave you all some some tools and some strategies and best practices to be able to do that for this. Of course, we know here in Tennessee the school year has ended, and they won't start back until August. And so, for other people in other states that may still be in school, you have an opportunity to build some relationships with some scholars. And so I would take the advice on what Dr. Hasso said. That's great information, and great tools, Dr. Hasso. Dontay.
All right, Dr. Hasso. So our question, this is more of a universal, global, because we talk about how the school districts on state to state are not on the same spectrum as they should be. Like nothing's uniform anymore. And that's what me and Logan talk about, how you can go to one state and something be completely different, or their value, their literacy, or math might be important here, STEM might be important here. If there was one thing you could change throughout the entire country, and whether it be testing, whatever it is, if there's one thing you can change to make uniform in every state and city for the education, or let's just say we met the Secretary of State and she was like, hey, doctor, I'm giving you one chance to change something that has to be uniform throughout the country. What would it be?
Increase literacy levels, testing, assessments. I wrote a book on assessments because we have a lot of kids coming from different countries all over the world coming here, giving students tests in their home language, and allowing them to take tests through their home language, and also making sure that we, like I said, it's not about us. It's not about the teachers. It's about the students, stepping away from ourselves and getting into the shoes of our students and educating them through their eyes, and through their perspectives. And just, trying every day and making this, trying our best to increase literacy levels. That's where we're having a real problem here. Reading books, like giving them different books to read, giving them everything to read. Don't ban things. Books being banned is fine, but what we're really doing is hiding the truth. Inevitably, they're going to have access to all of those things, whether it's in college or whatnot, because I've taught college, I've taught English at the college level, at community college, and there is no banning. I give them whatever I want to teach them. It's up to me. And that's where they can kind of get a little bit more of, what's going on in the world and the truth. And just making everything accessible. I think that would be the biggest universal thing, making information accessible, making reading accessible, making learning accessible, and not, making them feel welcomed. I think making your students feel welcomed in the school and in the classroom. Those are going to help a lot.
That's pretty. I don't think we heard that before. As far as raising literacy levels, it's crazy you say that, because I'm a high school basketball coach, and I tell a lot of my kids, it's crazy how everybody goes crazy over ACT and SAT, but the biggest thing that I learned in high school and in middle school was reading and comprehension. Like I tell people all the time, I tell parents that, like, I don't care about math. Yeah, you need to learn the basics. I said, but as a parent, as long as your child's able to read and comprehend, they will literally fly by through every grade, because that's what most of it is. I said, now you might have your chemistry, biology, geometry, but for the most part, if your child can read and comprehend, they can understand 75% of everything that's given to them. So I think that's pretty cool that you said that, as far as the literacy. Can you just tell us a little bit more about your business, as far as what you're doing with your books and things of nature?
Oh yeah. But one thing I wanted to touch on, like we
Yes,
have,
ma'am.
like our high school is very, like, our student, like the students love basketball, and we had we had a student that was NCAA eligible, but he was struggling, with the work. But his parents were like, he's going to the pros, and he did. I'm not going to mention his name because he's pretty popular, but he's at a university and he's playing basketball. But he talks about like how he struggled in high school. Like if he talks about, I kind of follow him because he was one of my students, but that he needed to change. He needed to fix the education part, his grades, his all of that. So while we were encouraging him to sort of be the best basketball player, we forgot, his he missed that other part. And I think most schools need to remember that we have talented athletes, but without the academics, the colleges are not going to take them. What are we doing here? So he talks about that in interviews as he'll be in the pros. He's working, he's playing he's like one of the best basketball players in the high desert. But he talks about that a lot. In terms of my business, through my books, I have 3 books that have been published with Roman and Littlefield. One is called Understanding and Improving How K-12 Multilinguals Are Taught, Supporting Multilinguals. One is Research-Based Bilingual Instruction, the Impact of Multiple Modalities in a K-12 English Learner Classroom. And then my first one was my PhD dissertation turned into a book called The Struggles of Minority English Learners, How Learner Feedback Can Improve English Skills. Basically, just how their feedback can help, because that's essentially what we need. Feedback from them. We can't make progress if they don't tell us what they need. And then I have
Right.
another one. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying right. I agree with you. I agree.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't want to talk too much. So
No, keep going. Trust me. Like at the end of the day, this is about you. This is about helping expand the knowledge for teachers, future teachers, anybody in the education field. So right now, what you're doing is you're dropping gems for everyone, including us. I know we're speakers. We help in teacher PD, professional development, but it's also important for us to learn as much as possible as well.
thank you. In press right now with Roman and Littlefield is Successful Research-Based Somatic and Linguistic Instructional Strategies and Modifications for Multilingual K-12 and Adult Learners. One thing I do want to sort of explore, like, kids from South Africa, or like that, the African language. That's something I'm sort of curious about, because it is a hot topic that people are, they want to know more about, because we do, get students from all over the world coming into our school systems, and teachers are not sure what to do. And so, and that's basically it. I publish. I still teach at the high school level. I try to public speak everywhere. I just did a conference, a huge English conference. Probably some of your English teachers attended this one, but it was for the National Council of Teachers of English. It was in Anaheim. It was huge. And so I just try to keep speaking at these conferences and keep getting my message out, and try to help people as much as I can.
Awesome. Awesome. Logan, you want to take a quick break before we get to that last little question? Let our subscribers know where they can subscribe and do things of that nature.
Absolutely. So, Dr. Hasso, we got to take a quick break 1 second, and then we'll get right back into it. All right. All right, guys, listen, this is the Class in Session podcast. That's right, the Class in Session podcast. And I need you to do 3 little things for us. It'll take you a matter of 5 seconds. You want to know what it is? I need you to like, subscribe, and leave a comment, right? And then here's the last thing. Share this out with your peers and your colleagues, right? Because we want to add value. That's what this podcast is about. It's about adding value to the education space and being able to help educators all across the world, right? Y'all know we're an international podcast. And so we got our special guest with Dr. Hasso on here, the PhD. Do you hear me? The lady, she a big dog around here in the education space. And listen, man, this is the Class in Session podcast. And listen, we need you to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. All right. I need you to do that for me. I'm gonna say it one more time. I need you to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. All right, back to the episode.
All right, this is a hot seat question. We typically ask everyone this. You can answer at your own risk. If you don't feel comfortable answering, that's fine too. The choice is yours. Um, is there a number, if there is a number, that you think teachers should make, and this could be up or down, that will help with teacher retention and help educators or education, the field in general, be more appealing to individuals of our society?
You mean salary?
Yes, ma'am.
I think yes, absolutely. I mean, entering the field, you should at least start at 60 to 60,000, 70,000 a year. I mean, we are not just dealing with, teaching kids. We're dealing with, other things, the human, the whole child. So that's like a lot. We're being asked to be psychologists, in some cases, doctors, and like medical, like, well, they're always asking, what do I do here? If I, whatever it is, nurses. Oh yeah, we need to start. They need to start 70,000 a year. They need to make as much as doctors do. Um, did I answer?
Yes, you answered perfect. I'm only laughing because you and Logan is right there. His answer is probably identical to yours. I'm a little bit lower in the aspect of,
Oh
I just
no.
think you need things in place that are essentials. You just need essentials in place when starting the field. I think all teachers should be able to get a car, some kind of car plan, and I think it should be super low interest rates, and it should be valuable cars, and it shouldn't be just no Honda or whatever people can afford that's feasible. I think there should be some level playing field vehicles that are tight, whether it be an SUV, whether it be a standard vehicle. But I think every teacher should have that once entering. And then I also think some kind of housing plan that's needed for every teacher, whether you're up north or down south. Like, I think in the south, I think it would be nothing for you to get some kind of housing. That way, if things don't go according to plan, you have some kind of asset. It doesn't work out, you can sell whatever. And I think the same should go for if you're up north, whether it be some kind of condo, something, housing, something in place to where you at least have some type of security that's in place. Man, Logan might say a little bit different, but
Nah, me and Dr. Hasso, she already spoke for me. I'm good. She the spokesperson. I'm good. Listen, we on me and you locked in, Dr. Hasso. I'm on the same page. I just think that with what I've learned in my past few years of like being able to go across the country and speak in schools and do conferences and build relationships with educators, as well as doing professional development with teachers, and just some of the stories, right? The good, the bad, the ugly, some horror stories, right? With working with some of the schools across our country, and just hearing some of the stories that they've been through, right? Some of the situations that they've been in, some of the things that they've experienced, um, and just to hear it, right? Like, I know that I was oblivious to it until we really got started with Y.B.Normal, working in the education space. Like, I couldn't believe, you know, parents are coming and fighting teachers, or students are cussing teachers out, or um, teachers having to walk students home, and kids having, hygiene issues, and just different stuff like that, right? I couldn't believe it or fathom it until I actually seen it from with my own eyes. And so, to see teachers go through all of that, right? Like, an example, like the guy that you said that's going to be going to the league, right? Like, if if it wasn't for a teacher, he wouldn't be in the position that he was in.
Hmm.
right? And so I think, we pay doctors six figures, we pay lawyers six figures, we pay engineers six figures, we pay um chefs, right? They six figures and they get these Michelin stars and all of that type of stuff. But why we not paying teachers six figures? Right? The teachers are with the students more than the students are with their parents.
Hmm.
And so I just think that it's important, right, to be able to, if we're going, like, let's compensate you not just because you're a teacher, but let's compensate you because of all of the mess that you have to put up with. And I think that that's important. That's why people are getting burnt out. That's why people that have been in the profession 10, 20, 30 years, right? They're getting out of it because they burnt out, because they feel like they're not valued. They feel like their voice is not being heard. They feel like they can't build a relationship and connect with the scholars, right? And so I just think that it's important to say, hey, listen, we want to honor you by compensating you X, Y, and Z. Then maybe we'll have a lower percentage of teachers getting out of the field, and maybe a bigger impact, and maybe education can become and be more innovative in a way to where you're not having these issues of building relationships with the scholars, and these teachers are not feeling like they're not valued and they're not heard.
100%. I mean, we have lots of, like, if teachers have perfect attendance, they can be put into a raffle for prizes, and then they could win a car. They could do this. They could get so, and students, same thing. So they have a lot of stuff. Our district has changed over the years. They've because they struggle with getting teachers because we're like above the mountains. We're in the middle of nowhere, and
Mhm.
so they have a hard time sort of retaining teachers up there. So they do sort of up it. They're working on that. And now we're starting to build momentum. But I agree with you. I mean, be making that, they should be rewarded for a lot of stuff that they do. And now they have what's called the golden handshake. So if you retire at a certain point, they give you more cushion, financial cushion. And then that helps a lot keep them, it helps keep them around for a little bit longer. Um, but but I agree.
I love that. Yeah. See, me, we locked in. I knew it. I knew it. We locked in. We locked in. I appreciate that. Dante, go ahead, man.
I really didn't have much else. I just want to say we appreciate you actually even coming on to our podcast.
Thank you so
As
much for having me. Thank you. I appreciate this. I'm
like
grateful.
this is our biggest thing is like we want to bring people from around the world and let them put their own spin on education because like Logan said, education isn't evolving, and so we're gonna do our best to help it evolve. And it doesn't, and it starts with you guys, with you educators, individuals like you, and you telling your unique stories and your strategies and how you are at least moving the needle. Like me and Logan said, at the end of the day, if you impacted one kid, that's one person that could become the president. And that's where it starts for us. We all about adding value. So we just very appreciative that you even came on here. If you could just leave our audience with a little motivation, a little speech, or a little phrase or something that you go by, um, that'll be helpful.
Ah,
Hold on. Before we do that, Dr. Hasso, I want you to, can you, I know we talked about the books, right? Just real quick before we end, can you talk about why you wrote the books, in the manner that you did? Because I heard you talk about, right, some of the books and like, hey, this is K through 12, this is specifically for this. Like, why did you write though? What was the rhyme and reason behind that on why you wanted to write those books specifically?
because I felt as though, the professional developments that I've been to, there's millions of conferences you can go to,
Hmm.
but I feel as though, you can teach a teacher how to teach adults, right? You can set it up that way, but a lot of these strategies are not for real classrooms, real students. And so I was always curious about that. Like, how can I help? How can I help put teachers in a real setting that is universal, right? Where you're dealing with all these different types of kids and give them real strategies that actually work, that are backed by research. And how do I show them that? You know, in contextually in a book, and how can that benefit them? And so that was my biggest motivator. And I also teach a lot of English learners and diverse kids, kids with different learning needs. And so I was always balancing everything. How do I meet this kid's need? Okay, this is working for him or her, but this is not working for this other student. So how do I balance that? And so a lot of teachers go through that. So I wanted to make sure that, what I know, what's working for me, I want to share that. I want to bring that to light a little bit. I mean, everyone, everyone has a different personality. You know, one, not everything, one size doesn't fit all in education. And I think that's where we have a problem. You can't just give one to one or to a whole class. It's not working. So I wanted to, bring light to that.
I love that. I love that. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Okay, now we can get up out of here. Dr. Lasso, what could you leave, like Dante said, could you leave our listeners and our audience with um piece of motivation, some advice, some encouragement, right? And then just talk about how people can get in contact with you. And also, say one more thing about the books, and then we'll close it out and get up out of here.
Well, just, show empathy to your students, put yourself in their shoes. Um, uh, Keep your passion, keep your fire, be curious, stay curious, about, how you can improve the classroom, your students' learning needs. Don't give up on your students. That's the biggest thing. Have a thick skin. That's what I was going to mention earlier. You have to have a thick skin for this. What's going on with them is not necessarily about you. It's about other things going on. Hang in there, because eventually kids will, you know, show a bright light. And that's about it. Hang in there. And then my books are again with Roman and Littlefield. Shout out, they're great. Understanding and improving how K-12 multilinguals are taught, supporting multilinguals. That was published in 2022. My most recent one. And then research-based bilingual instruction, the impact of multiple modalities in a K-12 English learner classroom. The struggles of minority English learners, how learner feedback can improve English skills. I'll put the link in here. I don't know if you want to share that, but I'll put it in there. And then in terms of getting in contact, you can contact me at my Hotmail account, Marianne_Hasso at hotmail.com. I can. Is there anything else? Did I miss anything?
No, man. Nope. Didn't miss anything at all. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much, Dr. Hasso.
For having me on. I appreciate this.
No, I appreciate you. You did an amazing job. And before we get up out of here, I just we want to give you your flowers and say thank you, because I know that it's not easy. However, I do understand and know that it's worth it. And so, again, thank you for taking up um, a space that's it's been hard for quite some time, right? But thank you for what you do, because it's needed, it's valued, it's appreciated. Your voice matters, as well as um, you matter, because it's important. I know sometimes throughout your journey, I know you've probably had some moments where you like, am I really called to this? But when you see those kids walk across the stage, or when you have those scholars that come to you and say, "Hey, Dr. Hasso, like, listen, I'm the first kid in my family to graduate college," like, it's stuff like that that makes it worth it. And so I just want to say thank you, because I know that it's not easy, and that we appreciate you here at Y.B.Normal for what you do, because it's not many that's called to this. And so thank you. And we really appreciate that. And so we want to honor you in that. And then just before we get up out of here, listen, guys, this is the Class in Session podcast. We had the phenomenal, amazing PhD holding Dr. Marianne Hasso as our special guest for this episode. And so, again, Dr. Hasso, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you,
Very
thank you
appreciative.
so much.
Very
We
appreciative that
very,
you took
very
the time
appreciative of this.
to be on our show.
Thank you.
And listen, guys, this is the Class in Session podcast. I am your host, Logan Taylor, my partner in crime, my brother, my right hand, Mr. Dontay Hampton. And as always, in closing, Y.B.Normal.
When you can be extraordinary.
Hey, man, we'll see y'all next episode. Love y'all. Peace.
Thank you.